On the 6th of December, 1941, in the Mediterranean Sea, the British submarine HMS Perseus was silently patrolling hostile waters off the coast of Cephalonia, Greece. World War II was raging all across Europe, and the Mediterranean had become a battleground. Mines, enemy ships, and submarines were a constant threat. But on this night, in a way no one would have ever anticipated, disaster struck. At around 10:30 p.m., the HMS Perseus hit a mine. The blast ripped through the hull with a loud bang, and in an instant, the submarine began to flood, sinking rapidly into the cold abyss of the Mediterranean. 61 men were on board. Most were asleep in their bunks, unaware of the doom that was mere seconds away. When the Perseus settled on the seabed nearly 170 feet below the surface, it seemed as though no one could have survived. But then, something no one would believe happened. The Perseus, a sleek, long-range submarine commissioned in 1929, was a symbol of British naval power. At 283 feet long and armed with 6 Mark 8 torpedo tubes and measured at a massive 21 feet, it was built for endurance and stealth. By 1941, it had already seen extensive service, operating in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans before being reassigned to the Mediterranean. The Perseus had 61 men aboard, including its commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Edward Nicholson. On the night of December 6th, the Perseus was traveling on the surface under the cover of darkness, roughly 7 miles off the coast of Cephalonia, a Greek island in the Ionian Sea. The crew had no idea that they were sailing directly into a minefield laid by Italian forces. At around 10:30 p.m., disaster struck. An underwater mine detonated against the hull, unleashing a catastrophic explosion. The force of the blast tore into the forward compartments, flooding them instantly. Within seconds, the submarine was engulfed in chaos as it began to sink. Most of the crew, asleep in their bunks, never had a chance to react. The Perseus plunged 170 feet to the seabed, settling in eerie silence. For the men aboard, it was certain death, or so it seemed. John Capes was no ordinary sailor. Born on the 10th day of September 1910, he was the son of a diplomat and went to a private school in London called the Dulwich College. He was from a family with deep naval roots. Unlike many aboard the Perseus, Capes wasn't a submariner by trade. He was a second-class stoker, responsible for maintaining the submarine's engines, and had joined the crew as a passenger en route to Alexandria. His journey aboard the Perseus was supposed to be temporary, but fate had other plans. In the past, the submarine service was known as the coffin service because it was well known during the war that submarines in the Mediterranean were in grave danger of sinking at any moment if one thing went wrong. The Mediterranean's image as a tragedy waiting to happen was largely due to the sea's clear, shallow waters, which made submarines in the region highly visible to the enemies. When the mine exploded, Capes was in one of the aft compartments, far from the initial impact. Miraculously, this section of the submarine remained intact, albeit rapidly filling with water. Acting quickly, Capes grabbed an emergency Davis submarine escape apparatus, a rudimentary breathing device designed for such emergencies. He found 3 other survivors in the compartment, but they were either too injured or too disoriented to attempt an escape. With no time to spare, Capes made the agonizing decision to leave alone. Struggling against the rising water, he opened the escape hatch and began his ascent to the surface. The journey upward was fraught with danger. At that depth, the risk of decompression sickness, commonly known as the bends, was immense. Capes later described how he felt his lungs burning and his strength waning as he rose through the cold, black water. Against all odds, he broke the surface, gasping for air under the starlit sky. Capes swam for hours, eventually reaching the shores of Cephalonia. Exhausted and near collapse, he was discovered by Greek villagers. Despite the island being under Axis occupation, the locals took him in, hiding him at great personal risk. For months, they sheltered Capes, moving him between safe houses to evade Italian patrols. Eventually, through a network of resistance fighters, Capes was smuggled out of Greece and returned to Allied territory. When he finally reported his ordeal, Capes's story was met with skepticism. The idea of anyone surviving a submarine sinking at such depth seemed implausible. There was no wreck to verify his account, and the lack of witnesses only added to the doubts. For decades, many dismissed his tale as a fabrication or an exaggeration. That all changed in 1997, nearly 56 years after the Perseus sank. A team of divers led by Greek marine explorer Kostas Thoktarides set out to find the wreck. Using historical records and advanced sonar technology, they pinpointed its location off Cephalonia's coast. What they discovered was nothing short of extraordinary. The wreckage of HMS Perseus lay undisturbed at the bottom of the Ionian Sea for over half a century, shrouded in mystery and speculation. What they discovered not only confirmed the remarkable story of its sole survivor, John Capes, but also provided a sobering glimpse into the tragic final moments of the crew who perished aboard. Using historical records, naval charts, and survivor accounts, Thoktarides and his team pinpointed the likely location of the Perseus. Armed with advanced underwater exploration technology, they conducted sonar scans of the seabed off the coast of Cephalonia, where Capes had claimed the submarine sank. Their efforts eventually paid off when they detected the unmistakable silhouette of a large submarine resting upright at a depth of approximately 170 feet, 52 meters. The first dives to the wreck revealed a hauntingly well-preserved vessel. The submarine's long, streamlined hull was still largely intact, save for the catastrophic damage at its bow. The forward section bore the clear marks of a mine explosion, with the outer casing torn apart and evidence of severe structural damage. This matched the details of Capes's account, confirming that a mine had been the cause of the submarine's sinking. One of the most compelling discoveries was the open escape hatch in the aft compartment. This was the very hatch through which Capes had made his daring ascent to the surface. Its condition was consistent with his story, providing concrete evidence that he had indeed escaped from the wreck. Divers also explored the compartment itself, finding artifacts and personal items belonging to the crew, many of which were still in remarkable condition due to the cold, oxygen-poor environment of the seabed. The wreck of the Perseus offered a unique opportunity to study a submarine from the early 20th century in situ. The vessel had lain undisturbed since its sinking, acting as a time capsule of wartime naval engineering. For historians and marine archaeologists, the wreck provided invaluable insights into the design and operation of the Parthian-class submarines, as well as the harsh conditions faced by their crews. However, the discovery also served as a poignant reminder of the human cost of war. The Perseus had been a tomb for 60 men, and the divers treated the site with the utmost respect. The wreck was officially recognized as a war grave, and no attempts were made to recover the remains of the crew. Instead, the site was documented and left undisturbed, serving as a silent memorial to the lives lost on that fateful night. For John Capes, who had passed away more than a decade before the wreck's discovery, the findings finally validated his incredible survival story. For years, skeptics had dismissed his account as implausible, citing the extreme depth, the challenges of escaping from a sunken submarine, and the lack of physical evidence. The discovery of the Perseus and the state of the wreck silenced those doubts, proving once and for all that Capes had achieved the near impossible. Today, the wreck of HMS Perseus lies quietly beneath the waves, a poignant reminder of the bravery and sacrifice of the men who served aboard. It remains a place of historical significance and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable odds. The sinking of the HMS Perseus is a powerful reminder of the courage and sacrifice of those who served during World War II. The submarine, now resting on the seabed off the coast of Cephalonia, serves as a war grave for the 60 men who perished that fateful night. Their story is one of duty and the ultimate price paid in service to their country. For John Capes, the Perseus became the defining chapter of his life. His miraculous survival showcased the resilience of the human spirit and the resourcefulness of a determined sailor. Though doubted for years, the discovery of the wreck in 1997 finally vindicated his incredible tale, ensuring his place in naval history as a symbol of perseverance against overwhelming odds. The wreck itself is more than a grave. It is a time capsule of wartime technology and a solemn reminder of the perilous conditions faced by submariners. Protected as a historical and cultural monument, it honors not just the crew of HMS Perseus, but all submariners who risked or gave their lives during the war. Today, the story of Perseus inspires reflection on the bravery of those who serve in the unforgiving depths of the ocean. It stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of survival and the bonds of humanity that transcend even the darkest times. The mystery doesn't end here. Like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing content. Comment below with your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. What's your favorite mystery of all time? Share with us in the comments.